Madam Chair, I do ask that we get a classified briefing on the MAVNI program. It's been raised here, and I think that some members have not had a chance to get a full classified briefing, really, quite frankly, on that program, and I'd ask for that. And I'll go to Ms. Rogers. Ms. Rogers, all the veterans who were deported based on an order of removal issued by an immigration judge. Is that so? I think you're muted.
Sorry. Yes, Congressman, that is correct.
So I just want to be clear about that, because DHS is using parole then to allow individuals to enter the United States to circumvent the law. The recent omnibus appropriations bill required DHS to provide quarterly reports, quote, on the number of parole requests received and granted, and for those granted, the rationale for each grant and its duration, close quote. And the first report was due on May 14th, but we haven't received that. Do you know what the status of that report is?
I'm sorry, I don't know the status of that report, but I can get back to you, Congressman.
It was due May 14th. We're over a month late. I'm going to ask you if you would commit to get that to the committee by the end of this week. Would you do that, please?
That report is, I'm not familiar with that report. It's not within my responsibility, so I unfortunately cannot commit to providing that to you by the end of this week, but I certainly can commit to checking and finding out the status of it.
I think that would be appropriate if you all would get on that, since it's now 6 weeks old, past due. So I just want to point out that we're having this hearing today. We should be having Secretary Mayorkas in because he testified that the border was operationally secure, even after reviewing the statute Secure Fences Act. The problem is for Secretary Mayorkas is exactly a week later, in responses to questions from Senator Langford, he then hedged his bet and said, well, you know what, and I'm going to quote here, actually, there's a statutory definition which provides, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll double check to make sure. Now, I find that interesting, since I know I read it to him. I know Chip Roy read it to him. But he went on to say, so under that strict definition, this country has never had operational control, close quote. There's a big difference between what he told Chip Roy when he said we had operational control, and then a week later admitting that he didn't. And so I want to submit, Madam Chair, transcripts of those two hearings for the record.
Without objection.
Thank you. I also think this committee should be investigating why the Biden administration is violating the rights of Americans, particularly members of the military, by forcing them to get COVID-19 shots. It's troubling that the Department of Defense is forcing service members out of the military who object to COVID-19 shot. It's also troubling the Biden administration is implementing radical woke policies in the Department of Defense. But let's get to this for a second. The INA is clear: illegal aliens shall be detained even if they're seeking asylum. So if they're seeking asylum, they should be detained. But under the Biden administration, more than 1 million illegal aliens have been released into the United States since January 2021. Nearly 100,000 were released just last month. And I think we need to be holding that. So, Ms. Rogers, it sounds to me like the Biden administration is once again misusing one of its favorite tools, and that is the tool of parole. Secretary Mayorkas continues to abuse the limited authority that Congress has given him to grant parole. The fact that DHS has paroled nearly 400,000 aliens into the United States since January 2020 should be shocking to every member of this committee. That's not what parole was designed to do. How many previously deported individuals have been paroled into the United States under the IMMVI program, please?
Thank you for the question, Congressman. We have had 16 veterans.
I thought that's what you'd said, yes. I thought that you'd said that. Let me ask you this question. Last Congress, this subcommittee held a hearing, and one of the witnesses was a veteran who was deported after he had fired a weapon at an occupied vehicle. So that in and of itself is interesting. So I'll ask you, Ms. Miller, are individuals who fire a weapon at occupied vehicles the types of individuals that your office is advocating for to be allowed to re-enter the United States?
Is that question for me, Congressman Biggs, or is that?
I'm sorry. Yes, yes, yes. And I'll ask Ms. Rogers the same thing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Ms. Miller, the same thing. I got to get this right. Ms. Miller first, and then Ms. Rogers. Ms. Miller, if you'd answer that, please.
So, sir, with respect to any prior criminal activity, that's certainly something that is reviewed very seriously with respect to qualifications for military services. And in most cases, if it's an egregious criminal act, then they would be prevented from joining the military services.
You guys
Gentleman's
allowed,
time is expired, but Ms. Rogers certainly can answer the question.
thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you. So I'm not sure which veteran who testified, but
Victor Barajas.
if it's who I thought that may have been who you were referring to. He actually was eligible for citizenship and is a U.S. citizen today because he qualified under the Section 329 of the Immigration and Nationality Act for citizenship.